Let's call the Senate to order. The Sergeant at Arms will please secure the chamber doors. Members, please take your seats. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. President.
All right, Senators, we are very, very pleased, and I was proud to be able to have back again Pastor Greg Sincere of the Bay Area Christian Community Church. Please rise for the invocation.
Well, it is an absolute privilege and joy for me to be here with you on Sine Die. Just a couple of brief comments, if I may. As a resident of this great state for some 28 years, and as a community leader, I want to say thank you. Thank you for the last 90 days. I know I speak for the vast majority of Marylanders, how grateful we are for the sacrifice you've made, the diligence that you've put in, the debates, the family sacrifices, all of the things that you've done. I just want to say thank you. Now, I know we celebrate religious diversity here, and I would be remiss, though, if I didn't acknowledge that for 69% of Marylanders, they claim to be Christians, and this week is actually the most significant of all weeks for those who are Christians, and that is the Holy Week. Yesterday was Palm Sunday, Friday is Good Friday, Sunday is Easter Resurrection morning. I only bring that to your attention because as I was thinking and praying about what to pray for, I felt like I needed to say two things first before I pray. And they were said on Monday of Holy Week, as Jesus cleanses the temple in Jerusalem. He actually says something. He says, "My house shall be a house of prayer." And I have been praying for 24 years in this body here. And I just want to say thank you for allowing me and countless other clergy from your district to come and lead this body in prayer. So thank you very much for that very high privilege. And the other thing, Jesus says this: have faith in God. Have faith in God. In the midst of all of the challenges that we face, personal challenges, challenges in our state, have faith in God. He's a good God. He loves us, and He cares for us. I want to pray a blessing over you. This blessing is found from Psalm 67 and Numbers chapter 6. Let's pray together. Psalm 67. God, be gracious to us and bless us, and cause His face to shine upon us, that your way may be known on the earth, your salvation among all nations. Let the peoples praise you, O God. Let all the peoples praise you. Let the nations be glad and sing for joy, for you will judge the peoples with uprightness and guide the nations of the earth. Let the peoples praise you, O God. Let all the peoples praise you. God, our God, blesses us. God blesses us, that all the ends of the earth may fear Him. And now receive this blessing. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up His countenance on you and give you His peace. And all God's people said, amen, amen. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the Senator from the 33rd District.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. The good Reverend started his flock in I think, a movie theater, and he has come to have a substantial place in Crownsville, my district, but also reached out to many other communities. A great leader, very ecumenical in what he does and how he does it. Would request that we journalize his prayer.
Without objection, we'll journalize the initial prayer. And of course, we are a very diverse body with lots of different religions, and it is, it's very important that we keep an open mind in the way that we each practice individually and respect everyone. Chair recognizes the Senator from Montgomery County.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. It has always been a pleasure to have Mr. Sincere with us. In addition to Holy Week for Christians, I just want to point out that Passover starts for Jews in Maryland and around the country this week, as well as we celebrate freedom from slavery and oppression and cherish all that we hold dear. today and going forward. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator, for that observation. All right, has everyone recorded their presence? Almost. The clerk will take the call. With 47 members in the chamber and a quorum being present on this, the last day of session, the Senate of Maryland is now in session. Let's start out with some special guests. Chair recognizes the Senator from Baltimore City.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, if you can just bear with me while I rave a little bit. I got 3/4 of my crew here. I got a Reagan, a CJ, and a Bryson, 7th, 2nd, and kindergarten. Colleagues, Reagan, Kennedy, CJ, and Bryson are the shining stars of my heart. Reagan's currently in the Ingenuity program. She probably don't want everybody knowing that. She's also, Mr. President, doing APEX. APEX is where middle schoolers are actually doing high school math. And this year, when she took the MCAP, she finished in the top 6% in 7th graders across the state. And CJ and Bryson, I'm sure that they know that report cards just came home. And they got all CDs. So for folks that got elementary school students, all CDs consistently demonstrating.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Excellent. Welcome. Well, they should know how much their brag dad's on them. So it is every day, all in good ways, all in good ways. Yes, Chair recognizes the Senator from the 34th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to just recognize our former Senate colleague, and my Harford County Executive, Barry Glassman is on the floor with us.
Yeah, I didn't see you there. Oh, it's great to see you. Thanks for being down here. I'm sorry I didn't notice you. We'll have to catch up later today. Wonderful. Yes.
And while I'm up, I'd also,
Yes.
I have my shadow for the day. Lillian Orkitis is up in the loft there. Thank you.
Wonderful. Welcome, Lillian. Other introductions. Yes, Senator from District 1, followed by Senator from District 4.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, as you all know, this is my 40th year down here, and over those 40 years, my wife's been here maybe half a dozen times at the most. Someone asked her this morning if she was glad I was retiring, I guess would be the word. She said, ask me that next January. So, if you would give my wife a warm welcome to the Senate. Linda is over here.
Oh, Linda, welcome. Hey. I hope she's here for the snow report that's coming today. Chair recognizes Senator from District 4.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and I hope the body give a warm introduction to my wife, Jo, my daughter, Caitlin, my son, Grant, and my daughter, Abby, who are down here to watch their dad's last day in session. So,
Phenomenal, phenomenal. Welcome. Great that you all could be here. Any other introductions? Anything? All right, let's talk schedule briefly today. Just kind of so we actually don't have too much this morning. We're pretty light on the desk. So that will change as the day goes by. So we will probably go, an hour or so today. This morning, we'll break, and then we'll come back for the afternoon, probably somewhere around 3:30ish to 5. We'll break again, and then we'll kind of play it by ear. So. A lot of conference committees out there that require some ongoing negotiations in the last day, but we don't have too much left. So I'm sure there will be one nice controversial issue here or there that pops up as sine die goes. But I think it's going to be a great day. This has been a really historic session in many ways. And just sort of thinking, just as a quick reflection, as we got in when we came here 90 days ago. The context was very different, and we were still sort of in a nearish lockdown mode, and it's just it's pretty remarkable to think about what 90 days later can look like, and we've done some really remarkable work across the board. So, just proud to be a part of this chamber, and finish strong today. So, with that, without objection, we will waive the reading of the journal from the prior legislative day. Let's start with some of these messages. To get these conference committees up and running. This is Senate Bill 33. Clerk will read the first message.
Senate Bill 33, Senator Lee, Criminal Law, Sexual Crimes, Fourth Degree Sexual Offense, and Spousal Defense. By the Majority Leader, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the House of Delegates consents to the Senate's request for the return of SB Senate Bill 33 for further consideration in the Senate. Said bill is returned herewith by order of Sylvia Seeger, Chief Clerk.
Clerk will read the next message. Oh, message having been read is journalized.
Mr. President.
Yes, Chair recognizes the Minority Leader.
Just historic. I've never seen this. What prompted, or
Yeah,
can you
this
just
is
give
a
a little
good one.
background?
It's a good one. So we can only send messages on bills for which technically we have in possession to change anything. And so we had to make an alteration on the conference committee when it had gone over, but the bill was not in possession of the Senate. And so in order to adjust it, we had to formally request the bill back over. That allowed us to what will now be a revised message to send back to the House. So the joys of all of the legislative processes. We had to go through the rule book for this one. This was like the arcane. Clerk will read the next message.
By the Majority Leader, ladies and gentlemen of the House of Delegates, the Senate refuses to concur in the House amendments and respectfully requests the House recede from its position. Should the House prefer a conference committee to confer on the disagreeing votes of the two houses, the Senate appoints Senator Lee chair, Senator Hedelman, Senator West. Said bill is returned herewith by order Nicole Alexander, Secretary.
Message having been read is adopted, and now the message and the bill will go back into the possession of the House. All right. Let's see. We have all 27 people here. Let's we good? Okay. Let's do these concurrences. Actually, let's not. Let's do the second readers. This is one of those. Let's just get them all on the queue. Let's go to Finance, report number 49. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 456, Delegate Valentino Smith, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, State Supplement, favorable.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee.
Thank you. House Bill 456 increases the state supplemental benefit under the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program to ensure that households with an individual aged 62 or older receive a total benefit of $40 per month. The budget includes funds to increase the supplement to $40 per month. There are no amendments, no opposition at the committee hearing. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
All right, give us just a moment, Madam Chair. It's coming up. There we go. Okay, House Bill 456, the chair's move for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion of the report? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 456 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 544, Delegate Chi, Health Facilities, Residential Service Agencies, Reporting Requirement, favorable.
Chair recognizes chair of the committee.
Thank you. House Bill 544 is the same as Senate Bill 600, which has passed the General Assembly. The bill requires each residential service agency receiving Medicaid reimbursement for the provision of home care or similar services by a personal care aide to report the number of personal care aides the RSA has classified as an employee and those classified as independent contractors. There are no amendments. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 544 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. All right, we have another message, another conference committee message. Let's go ahead and this is House Bill 4. Oh, yes, Chair recognizes the chair of the committee.
At the appropriate time, if I could take the committee to the Red Room.
Yes. Let's,
Whenever it works.
let's try to start debate on one bill and then we'll go.
Very good.
All right. Clerk will read the first message.
House Bill 460, Delegate Guyton, Baltimore County Alcoholic Beverages Licenses Transfers. By the Majority Leader, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the House of Delegates refuses to concur in the Senate amendments and respectfully requests the Senate recede from its position. Should the Senate prefer a conference committee to confer on the disagreeing votes of the two houses, the House appoints Delegate Valderrama, Chair, Delegate T. Branch, Delegate Howard. Said bill is returned herewith by order Sylvia Seegert, Chief Clerk.
Message having been read is ordered journalized. Clerk will read the next message.
By the Majority Leader, ladies and gentlemen of the House of Delegates, the Senate does not recede in the Senate amendments and agrees to a conference committee to confer on the disagreeing votes of the two houses. The House has appointed Delegate Valderrama chairman, Delegate T. Branch, Delegate Howard. The Senate appoints Senator Simon Ayer chair, Senator Patterson, Senator Riley. Said bill is returned herewith by order of Nicole Alexander, Secretary.
All right, message having been read is adopted. We have a conference committee report, So let's go ahead and bring up this conference committee report. The clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 83, Delegate Atterbury, Family Law Authorization for a Minor to Marry.
All right, the question before the Senate is on the adoption of the conference committee report. If we could have the chair of the conference committee explain the conference committee amendments. Chair recognizes the chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't have them on here. Actually, maybe I do have them here. Essentially, what we've done is we've added, it's in the same posture as what we did on the Senate floor. So we added the judicial supervision piece, and that's it. That's the only change, so that you can petition. There's going to be judicial supervision, so the court will be loosely involved in the decision-making. 17 remains the bar. That's it.
All right. So the chair's moved for the adoption of the conference committee report. Any discussion? Chair recognizes the senator from the 34th district on the report.
Yeah, just real briefly on the report. You see the court's involved. So the age is 17, but if you want to get married at below 17 or at 17, you're involved with court.
So it's 17 remains. So it's at 17.
Okay.
And then it says. We've kept in the language that you shall be deemed emancipated for the limited purpose of obtaining that divorce. So we scaled it back. The House version had an emancipation for everything, essentially.
But then we get the court involved for what then? If it's limit 17, you can get married at 17, you can get divorced at 17. Then the court comes in because...
I think at that point in time, there's a little bit of extra scrutiny, but I want to make sure I get this right. So give me 1 second.
Sure. You understand my question. If your marriage at 17, got it, and now what do we bring, what part is the court involved in? I don't know.
Just taking one look. 1 second. We special order this to the end of the calendar.
Let's just see. Let's see if we can just get the answer, or if we. It's all right. We just want to make sure we get it correct.
Well,
Chair.
I have a point of information that is on this bill and on the report while the vice chair is looking for it.
Does the chair want to yield to the vice chair?
Sure, that's fine.
Senator may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm looking, and while the conference report is accessible to those of us on the floor system, it's unclear how many of there are no signatures visible. And I wonder if you could indicate whether all 6 conferees approved of the conference report, or how we're to discern that in this and other situations.
So though I was the only one that signed, everyone agreed to what's before us.
Okay, and Mr. President, if that could be clear, I don't know whether that's an online and OIS issue or clarity in the presenter, by the presenter in each conference report going forward, because what we see are the 6 names and we don't indicate how many have signed and which have signed.
Well, it would be a majority.
Right.
But, I mean, senators free to ask each other. I don't think we're going to be able to change it today.
Thank you, Mr. President.
So council doesn't have access to the comms report. Can we just seriously special order for literally 5 minutes?
All right, let's.
I'm trying not.
Senator, any objections if we special order this for?
No.
5 minutes? All right, without objection, the report will be special ordered for 5 minutes. Let's go ahead and take up the one report from the Committee on Finance, the favorable committee report. This is number 50. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 1433, Delegate Walker, State Highways Designation, Piscataway Highway, favorable.
Chair recognizes Chair of the Committee on the report.
Thank you. House Bill 1433 requires the State Highway Administration to designate Maryland Route 210 as the Piscataway Highway. There are no amendments, no fiscal impact. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion on the report? Any objections to the report? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1433 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. All right, let's go to Education, Health, Environmental Affairs. We've got report number 75. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 855, Delegate Boyce, Agriculture, Urban Agriculture, Water and Power Infrastructure Grant Program and Fund. Establishment, favorable with one amendment.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 35th District as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. As amended, House Bill 855 is identical to Senate Bill 942 that was unanimously passed by the Senate. This bill establishes the Urban Agriculture, Water and Power Infrastructure Grant Program within the Department of Agriculture. To support the program, there's dedicated funding of $500,000 a year from FY24 through 2027. And there's one committee amendment, and it basically defines the definition of urban in the bill to mean the same as it is defined by the U.S. Census Bureau. I'd like to move the amendment and for adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. Any discussion on the amendment? Any objections to the amendment? Without objection, the one committee amendment is adopted. Question now is on the favorable report as amended. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 855 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. We have a report out of Budget and Taxation, report number 62. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 478, Delegate Polakovich Carr, Economic Development Enterprise Zone Program alterations, favorable with two amendments.
Chair recognizes the Vice Chair of the Committee as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the Enterprise Zone Program we've had since 1982, provide a variety of state and local tax incentives to invest in distressed areas. Basically, the bill updates the program in various ways. There are two amendments. One is technical. The second is we removed the termination date for the program. Move the amendments and the favorable report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the two committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections to the committee amendments? Without objection, the two committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objections, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 478 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. All right, we've got a special, oh wait, we do have one more second reader. From Finance, we have a second reader again. This is report number 51. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 1005, Delegate Smith, Maryland Medical Assistance Program, Community Violence Prevention Services, favorable.
Chair recognizes Chair of the Committee.
Thank you. House Bill 1005 is identical to Senate Bill 350, which passed the Senate unanimously earlier this session. House Bill 1005 requires Medicaid, subject to federal approval and the limitations of the state budget, to provide community violence prevention services beginning July 1, 2023. Uncodified language requires the Maryland Department of Health by October 1, 2022 to apply for a federal waiver to provide these services under Medicaid. The bill takes effect July 1, 2022. The requirement to provide community violence prevention services takes effect on the date the waiver is approved and terminates if the waiver is denied. There are no amendments. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1005 is hereby ordered passed to third reading. We got a special order calendar number 97. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 246, Delegate Carr, Open Meetings Act, notices, closed sessions and minutes, retention periods, online posting, and public inspection.
Chair.
Questions on the adoption of the favorable report as amended.
Chair recognizes Vice Chair of the committee.
We had this before us on Friday. Move the favorable report.
All right, Senator moves for the adoption of the favorable report as amended. Any discussion? Any objections to the report? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 246 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. We've got special order calendar number 98. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 723, Delegate Charles, State Finance and Procurement, Procedures and Pricing and Selection Committee for Preferred Providers. Bill is on third reading for final passage.
Madam President Pro Tem, I believe this was a bill that was special ordered on third reading. Are we?
Thank you, Mr. President. From committee staff, this is still not ready to be acted upon yet, so if we could special order it again until the issue regarding DO-IT gets resolved with the House.
We want to say the next
session. Yes, please.
All right. Are there any objections? Without objection, the bill will be special ordered to the appropriate time the next session.
Thank you.
All right. We've got special order number 99, calendar number 99. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 927, Delegate Polakovich Carr, Housing and Community Development, Affordable Housing, Listing and Disposal of Excess Real Property. Bill is on third reading for passage.
All right. House Bill 927 is on third reader for final passage. If we could please ring the bells, Madam Clerk. Are there any discussion on the bill? If not, Chair recognizes the senator from the 34th District.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm sleeping on this, Mr. President. So I did have some amendments on this bill, but after discussing it with the sponsor, I think the better course is, but I would like to address that briefly about why I'm not bringing the amendments if I could.
Senator may proceed.
So my concern on the bill were twofold. One, that we not have a process here that runs in parallel to the standard land use regulations that we all have in our counties. So my concerns were twofold. One would be that that we get, first of all, this bill has to do with using excess state land to construct affordable housing. That's the purpose of the bill. And my concerns were that, first of all, that as this property is being accessed, that we provide notice to the county governments, to the locals, about that this was being proposed. And so I had an amendment to actually require that they get notice. But working with the sponsor, and I appreciate her cooperation on this. Actually, no, I'm sorry, the Senate bill sponsor. This is the House bill. Working with the Senate bill sponsor on this, and we work and with committee staff, which I appreciate their cooperation, assistance. There was no intent not to provide the locals with notice, that every intent was to, and that this provision needs to be read in conjunction with existing provisions which do require that notice be given. My second concern, my major concern, was that this not supplant local zoning and master plans. And again, and so I had an amendment to do that, but again, working with the sponsor of the Senate bill and committee staff, it was explained that you have to read the provisions of this in conjunction with the existing law that already allows this in other cases, which this does not supplant, so that the intent of this bill is not to supplant, go around, avoid existing local master plan and zoning regulations, that properties that are accessed and then transferred would still be subject to normal development regulations. So they would still have hearings at which would have to be established this is consistent with the master plan, that this is consistent with normal zoning regulations. They'd have to go through the development advisory process to make sure it was, you know, mixed in and all the normal regulations that any development would have to go through in order to be built within the county. So with those explanations given to me, Mr. President, I'm satisfied that my concerns have been met, and I have no problem with the bill. So I won't be introducing the 3 amendments I had drafted. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you. All right, question remains on bills on third reader for final passage. Any further discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 927, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Let's go out of, we have another not concur from judicial proceedings. Actually, are we ready for the other conference report? Let's do the not concur. All right. This is message, Senate bills amended in the House, message number 35. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 71, Senator Kramer, Hate Crime Civil Remedy, JPR.
Chair recognizes Chair of the Committee on the amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. The amendments in the House struck what we'd done in the Senate, so we do not concur with that.
All right. The Chair moves that we not concur with the House amendments. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the Senate does not concur in the House amendments. The clerk will read the message.
By the Majority Leader, ladies and gentlemen of the House of Delegates, the Senate refuses to concur in the House amendments and respectfully requests the House recede from its position. Should the House prefer a conference committee to confer on the disagreeing votes of its 2 houses, the Senate appoints Senator Carter, Chair, Senator Wallstreicher, Senator Kessley. Said bill is returned herewith by order Nicole Alexander, Secretary.
All right. Message having been read is adopted. Are we ready for B&T? We have conference report on House Bill 27. We're ready for that one? It doesn't look like we have a floor report on it yet. All right, let's go. We only have a concurrence calendar. Let's do the concurrence calendar. This is out of Education, Health, Environmental Affairs, calendar number 36. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 86, Senator Hester, Department of Natural Resources, Lease Agreements, Trail Access Provision, EHE.
Chair recognizes Chair of the Committee on the House Amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 86 addresses land that DNR leases of state-owned property and the availability of the trailheads for people to utilize those trails. It requires unobstructed access to trailheads by trail users and first responders and ensures that the trailheads remain free of obstruction. There is a House amendment that strikes language requiring leases to maintain a border around the property. We think that's a minor effect on the bill, so we move to concur.
All right, the Chair moves that we concur in the House amendments. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 86 is now before the Senate, again on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 86, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 121, Senator Hester, Maryland Farms and Family Fund, Maryland Food and Agriculture Resiliency Mechanism Grant Program, and Maryland Farm to School Meal Grant Pilot Program Alterations and Establishment, EHE.
Chair recognizes the Chair of the Committee on
Thank you,
the
Mr. President. This bill addressed the Farm and Family Fund and created an Agricultural Resiliency Mechanism Grant Fund to increase our ability to use our agricultural foods and available for people in need as well. Unfortunately, while we fenced off a significant amount of money to get these programs started or expand them, the House had a more modest or moderate approach. At this point, we had $1.2 million They stopped at 200,000 and apparently will not go any further. We think it's still a worthwhile program, so we will concur with the House amendment.
All right, Chair moves that we concur with the House amendments. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 121 is now again before the Senate on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 121, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 273, Senator Elfreth, Environment, PFAS Chemicals, Prohibition and Requirements, George Walter Taylor Act, EHE.
Chair recognizes the Chair of the Committee on the House Amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. This brings to a close the debate and discussion and various versions of PFAS chemicals, which the firefighters have raised concerns about cancer risk and everything else. This will conform the bill to the House bill as it unanimously passed the Senate. Move adoption of the concurrence on 273.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the House amendments. Any discussion? Any objections to the House amendments? Without objection, the House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 273 is now before the Senate on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 273, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 354, Senator Elfreth, Bay Restoration Fund, Intended Use Plans, and Privately Owned Wastewater Facilities, EHE.
Chair recognizes the Chair of the Committee.
Mr. President, this deals with the Bay Restoration Fund. We made some modest changes and a little flexibility for some small communities to utilize, or the companies that provide the water to these small communities. The amendments conform the bill to HB 714 as it unanimously passed the Senate. Move adoption of the concurrence report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the House amendments. Any discussion? Any objections to the House amendments? Without objection, the House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 354 is now again before the Senate on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 354, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 582, Senator Bailey, Natural Resources, Recreation on Private Land, Hunting, EHE.
Chair recognizes the Chair of the Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Final one for our committee right now. This deals with hunting on private land. We had a debate, I guess about 3 or 4 weeks ago, about when a property owner invites people to hunt on their property, what are their responsibility? We added an amendment from the Senator from Charles County, and the House simply adds when there's hunting on the property on a limited entry basis. We think that's fine. It follows the intent of our actions. Move adoption of the concurrence.
All right, the Chair moves that we adopt the House amendments. Any discussion? Any objection to the House amendments? Without objection, the House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 582 is now again before the Senate for third reader, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 582, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. We had a conference committee report that was special ordered. Well, let's bring that one back up. Clerk will read the bill. Excuse me, the conference report.
House Bill 83, Delegate Atterbury, Family Law Authorization for a Minor to Marry.
Chair recognizes the Chair of the Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. If the senator from Harper County, just can you ask the question again? I just want to make sure I provide an on-point response.
So recognize the senator from the 34th to the question on the bill. On the report.
Yeah, I mean, my question was before, quite simply, that we bring the court back into this with permission. I was just trying to, the 17, that's pretty clear, no problem there. But then this also now brings the courts back in. I just want to understand for what purposes, what capacity.
Sure, here you go. So a minor who's 17 years old got that. You have to file a petition in the minor's own name to marry in the circuit court for which the person wanting to get married resides. The petition has to have the full name, the gender, date of birth, and the address, including the length of time the petitioner has resided at that address. And then the intended spouse's full name, gender, date of birth, address, including the length of time they've lived at that address. And then it'll have a statement explaining how the parties met and how long they've known each other, a copy of any criminal records concerning either party, a copy of a peace order or protective order issued against either party, and then evidence that the minor is mature and capable, self-sufficient, self-supportive, independent, and the minor's parents, guardian, legal custodian, or intended spouse, and the name and the last known address of each living parent, guardian, or legal custodian for the petitioner.
And that's to marry at 17.
If they don't have permission, that's right.
Oh, if they don't have permission. If they have permission, they don't need that.
That's correct.
Okay. They'll be 18 by the time that's done, but okay.
Well, hey, you and me on that one.
Thank you.
All right. Question before the body is on the conference committee report. Any discussion of the report? Any objections with the adoption of the report? Without objection, the conference committee report is adopted. House Bill 83 is now again before the body on third reader for final passage. Almost. There we go. Thank you. Are there any discussion? Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 83, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Are we ready with the conference committee from Budget and Tax? All right. Let's do the one that we're House Bill 27. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 27, Delegate Lukey, Historic Revitalization and Enterprise Zone Tax Credits, Alterations and Eligibility.
Believe this might be not the message, but the actual conference report, if we have that loaded up. All right. The question before the Senate is on the adoption of the conference committee report. It's coming. Chair recognizes the Senator from Baltimore City on the report.
Thank you, Mr. President. The conference committee amendments just set the mandated appropriation for the program at $20 million a year for the primary program and $2 million for the small commercial project program. We're going to take the House position on it.
All right. The conference committee, the Senator moves the adoption of the conference committee report. Chair recognizes the Vice Chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the Senator from District 45 yield, please?
Senator may proceed.
Could you please indicate which of the conferees signed on to the conclusion and as recommending?
I know that we talked about it and discussed it in Senate on Friday, and we were in agreement.
Again, there are no signatures online. I'm curious to know whether it was unanimous, divided, or what the numbers were, please.
We discussed it amongst committee, and it was unanimous.
Unanimous. Thank you very much.
All right. On the conference committee report, any discussion? If not, are there any objections to the adoption of the conference committee report? Without objection, the conference committee report is adopted. House Bill 27 is now before the Senate again for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 27, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. We've got another conference committee report out of budget and tax. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 1100, Delegate Queen, Child Care Providers and Employees Bonuses.
This is House Bill 1100, the conference report on 1100. All right, let's recognize the member of the conference committee to special order it until we have the floor report available. Chair
I
recognizes
move that we special order until
30 minutes.
30 minutes. Thank you.
All right, any objections to the special order? Without objection, the conference report will be special ordered for 30 minutes.
Mr. President, Mr.
Uh,
President, would it be
where-
would it be
so-
possible, a very
Sen-
brief introduction? I know it's not
yeah, Senator-
necessarily in
Senator
order, but we have in the gallery a couple of special guests and from overseas. I want to, before they walk out of here, we've got Francesca Brindle and her father, Charlie Chichester, who are all the way from London, England, and Charlie served as a member of the European Parliament for 20 years. And Francesca's grandfather, I know sailing's very important here. Grandfather was the first person ever to sail single-handed around the world in 1966-67 on the yacht Gypsy Moth No. 4. So welcome, Charlie and Francesca, all the way from London, England. Thank you, Mr. President.
Welcome. We're so pleased you could be here. Welcome. All right, let's see. We've got another conference committee report out of budget and tax. Are we ready for it? Okay. Clerk will read the report.
House Bill 993, Delegate Ebersol, Child Care Capital Support Revolving Loan Fund established.
Chair recognizes the Senator from Montgomery County on the report.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 993 conferees have met and compromised on the funding. Specifically, the bill now also mandates $10 million in fiscal year 2024. This is in addition to the fiscal 2023 amount that was already in agreement. I move adoption.
All right, the Senator moves that we adopt the conference committee report. Any discussion? Any objections to the report? Without objection, the conference committee report is adopted. House Bill 993 is again before the Senate, third reader, final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 993, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right, we have a third reading calendar. This is calendar number 67. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 118, Delegate Washington, Public Schools, Student Attendance, Excuse Absences for Mental Health Needs.
All right, House Bill 118 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 36 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 118, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. So we have are we ready with the other conference report? That's our only remainder. Nope, okay. Well, in that case, the desk is clear. So we'll do this. Let's go ahead and pause for the moment. We may have something come in as we are waiting, so it's a little bit earlier than we were anticipating, but hopefully it's good for the senator's family as well that we're here. So we were able to celebrate and provide gifts for those who are retiring from public service. We do have some other senators, though, who are not retiring from public service, but are taking the skills that they learned in this august chamber to different venues. And so today we have the opportunity for two of those senators, but first, we'll give the opportunity for the senator from District 4, Carroll and Frederick counties, a chance to kind of give some thoughts and reflections. But before we do, we all know the senator, and we all have worked with him in many different capacities. But sometimes it's important to go back and remember all of the impact that the senator has had here in this chamber. He's been a member of the Senate since 2015, was in the House of Delegates from 2011 to 2015, the term before, where he has served on the Judicial Proceedings Committee, the Executive Nominations Committee, the Legislative Policy Committee, the Rules Committee, the Public Safety and Policing Work Group in 2015 and 16, the Joint Committee on Children, Youth, and Families, previously served as the Minority Whip and as the Vice Chair of the Frederick County Delegation from 2018 to 2021. As many of you all know, the senator has worked for the American Legislative Exchange Council, where he served as the Maryland appointed state leader in 2016, and I don't know if many folks, those who have seen the documentary that's on Netflix, the 13th, was discussing the role that the American Legislative Exchange Council had in the process of and in advocating the legislative changes on our prison populations, which ultimately led in some cases to our justice reinvestment and a number of various policies that move forward. The senator, like myself, was born in Silver Spring, Maryland in 1979, went to Watkins Mill High School in Gaithersburg, went to Community College of the Air Force, where he received his AA degree. Towson University is where he received his BS degree, and was a missile maintenance technician. I know what those missiles can feel like at times, for the U.S. Air Force from 1998 to 2002. Of course, is married with 3 beautiful children who are here with us today, and announced that in May of 2021 that he would be running for the Frederick County Executive in 2022 rather than seek election to this body. And we wish him best on his decision to move from the legislative branch to the executive branch. This is where the real action happens, but with the hope the executives have a great time. So without further ado, I'd like to recognize the senator from District 4.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you for allowing me to do a speech here today. And I feel very comfortable doing it from my seat, even though I was hoping for old time's sake you would let me on sine die one more time dislodge you from the rostrum, but that's okay.
Well played. Well played.
all kidding aside, I do really appreciate the way that you've kept a wonderful Senate tradition of honoring those who are leaving with the roast and everything else. It's really been the honor and privilege of my life to serve here. We are a small fraternity, as many of you know. And in my family, no one really came from politics, but I did have a great uncle who was an elected Democrat in Stafford County on the county commissioner. So I don't talk about him much. We don't talk about him much, but he's a good guy. I'm Uncle Ralph. But my sister and I actually were the first in my family to get a 4-year degree. So, to be honest, I was a bit embarrassed to give a personal speech on the floor just because, quite frankly, you all have to listen to me so much. I was doing a quick back-of-the-envelope math, and I think the Senate floor time, speaking time, the senator from 34 and myself take up about 2/3 of it. So, but I do appreciate it, and I was really hoping today to thank some people that have really helped me and mentored me along the way. This is my 16th legislative session. Given that I'm only 42, it is kind of it's a bittersweet moment leaving here. I did 4 years as a legislative staffer in the Senate. I did 4 years in the House, 4 of the worst years of my life, and then 8 years in the Senate. But first, I'm very glad to have my family with me here today, because all of you know, we get, as an elected officials, we get a lot of accolades and praise and get to go around and do a lot of special things, but our family really doesn't get as much as they deserve. And especially for me, when I first was running, little babies, they've known their whole lives that, Dad's been down here, and I've been on JPR and Judiciary my whole time. Those of you, I know a lot of you do 1 year, and then suddenly you disappear. I don't know why arguing over one word for a half hour isn't exciting to you, but apparently it's not. That means long nights, and it's a long drive home. So basically for 90 days, my wife's been a single mom with the kids, and they've sacrificed a lot. And I first wanted to thank them so much for their sacrifice to allow me to do this. and most people I want to thank aren't members of the body anymore, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention, as a staffer, the person that really gave me the chance to be down here, and I wouldn't be otherwise, was then State Senator Alex Mooney. I was nothing more than just out of the Air Force. I was a precinct captain for him. He hired me to work for him, and I really fell in love with this body. I wanted to be here after that, and he has been a true personal friend and mentor to me. I would say, however, working for Alex Mooney has its downsides. So as many of you may have heard, he and Mike Miller were not are on the best of terms. So when I first got elected to the Senate, all my freshman colleagues were talking about going to lunch with Mike and having meetings with Mike. Mike wouldn't even talk to me, wouldn't talk to me at all. I had to go to Mike and set up an appointment, and it was actually typical Miller. He was a political strategist, knew how to work people, and he set it up so that I had to come to him and set up the meeting. But once we did that, we had a very good meeting. And in fact, I really enjoyed serving here with Mike Miller as Senate President. For those of you who didn't get to experience that, he taught you how to deliver a second reading report on the floor, how to dress. I know one of my colleagues, he called him up one time because his socks weren't up high enough and his legs were exposed. But everything you need to know, he taught you the history of this place. And when I give tours now to constituents, they think I'm some sort of genius or historian. It's not. I just listen to Mike and I just regurgitate it when I'm walking around. But one of the things that he did was he really pushed for the Justice Reinvestment Act. That was really Miller. He had gone to a Senate conference. He'd been impressed by it. He came back and said, this is what I want to do in Maryland. It just so happened that's really what I had wanted to do. It was really the reason that I came to the Senate. When I was in the House, piece by piece, we were doing parts of it. But it's something that I cared very deeply about. Having grown up in a household with my father was an alcoholic, I cared a lot about getting people treatment help for addiction and getting them out of the criminal justice system and putting back in the community where they could get the help they needed. And I was very blessed to have some great chairmen that I served under. So the first is people all the time, they confuse me for a lawyer. I'm not. You heard my accolades. All I ever did was I got a degree from Towson. I really owe a lot of that to Joe Valerio. Being and serving on that committee for 4 years was absolutely wonderful. I went to law school, Joe Valerio. I learned what mens rea was, what a probation before judgment, what should be a felony, what should not be. All those things I really learned about under Joe. And I watched the lawyers on that committee. And just for all of those out here, just know that freshmen, when they come in here, they're watching you and learning from you how to be legislators. And I really learned from them on that committee how to go about analyzing bills, reading bills. My next committee chairman was Bobby Zirkin. I think all of you that know the two of us know that. I know he's watching right now. He said he had a cough or COVID or something going on. I don't know. He couldn't be here. But we were, he does not have COVID. He had a cough, though. We were pretty much inseparable. And something that he really, I think, did very well and taught me was that it didn't matter if it was a Republican idea or Democrat idea. It just mattered if it was a good idea. And then there's another one of our former colleagues, too, Senator Chris Schenck. I think he was a great role model. He's helped me a lot throughout my career. He really was a role model, too, because he was like me. He came over from the House, kind of like very much a bomb thrower, and then came to the Senate and worked, on solutions and getting some stuff passed. I've also had great staffing throughout the years. A couple of my staffers are here today. So my former Chief of Staff, Rachel Sledge, is here. My current Chief of Staff, Stephen Clark, is here. And I've also got my current aide, Tony, is going over to the Kelly Schultz campaign here next week. I'm not sure he's here, too. One of my other aides, Bob Vandervoort's been with me almost the whole time. He's been a very good friend. And lastly, I just want to thank, well, that's not the last person, but I do want to thank the voters of Frederick County who entrusted me to come down here and represent them. I think in my time in the Senate, I've stood very much for the taxpayer, for defending our constitutional rights, supporting our veterans and law enforcement officers, protecting children, and in favor of a fairer and improved criminal justice system, and of course against trash incineration. And finally, I want to thank all of you who have listened to me and occasionally voted with me. You'll get another chance maybe once or twice today. Please vote with me. I will say this, for those who don't know, it wasn't mentioned in my bio, the last 5 years I actually went back and I've worked for Congressman Mooney as his chief of staff. And you really get to look at the federal level and the state level. And it just is such a reminder looking at the dysfunction of the federal level and the broken processes, the way they do things down here. The Maryland Senate is really a great institution. We come across the state from different areas, different backgrounds, different ideologies, but we sit together for 90 days, and especially on judicial proceedings, we work on some of the toughest issues dealing with race and crime and so many things. And so many times we're able to come together and work out solutions. And that's what the American people want. And quite frankly, the federal government would be much improved if they followed the model that we do here in the Maryland Senate. And when I give tours around to people, I'll often explain that at the federal level, when someone's giving a speech and you see it on C-SPAN, there's no one there, no one's listening. At best, you get one member from one, 3 or 4 members from one party, 3 or 4 members from the other party. The other members aren't there. They're not here like we are on the floor, all listening and working together. My only advice for you as I leave, there's a great quote from Harry Truman. It's amazing what you can accomplish if you don't care who gets the credit. I would add to that, it doesn't matter how it happens, you can always take credit. That's the one I've gone by. And so I was looking for a good way to close this out, and the first campaign that I ever volunteered on was in 1996. I was in high school. I did Bob Dole for president. I worked on his campaign. And when he retired from the U.S. Senate, and he was running for president, so he's running for another office like I am, he had a quote I thought was very good to end the speech. The Bible tells us to everything there is a season, and my season in the Senate is about to come to an end. But the new season before me makes this moment far less the closing of one chapter than an opening of another. Thank you, and God bless.
Well said. Chair recognizes the Chair of Judicial Proceedings Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be quick on this, but I didn't want the moment to pass without acknowledging the contributions for the senator from District 4. Actually, we first met when I was in the House, and you were over in the House, I think the Montgomery County delegation room for a press conference with my predecessor, then Senator Raskin, now Congressman Raskin, and you all were working on asset forfeiture, and that just shows the multi-dimensional and the dynamic that you had. You were able to cross party lines because of what you believed in and your principles. And I remember being really impressed with you, and I also remember being like, wow, I want to be over on the other side of the hall. I really do want to be a senator, but I had to wait my time until Congressman Raskin went off to Congress. And when I got here, the first thing that I noticed, there were 2 senators that I were kind of terrified of when I was on the committee, and I would hear their voice in the back of my head when I would go before the committee to present a bill, because I know that they were going to ask the most detailed, tough questions, and that really made me a better member. And they were mentoring me and crafting and basically made the whole committee a better committee, because you had to be on your A game before you came before our committee. And it was because of the research and the expertise and the intelligence that they applied every single day in committee. And then when I went off to deploy, you've got the monotony of deployment. You're missing your family. It's tough. And one of the things that breaks up that monotony is getting the care packages, like the letters. And I got a letter from you, and I got a book from you and your family, which means that drawings and letters from your children, which means that you sat around a kitchen table, you took time out of your day, and you thought about me while I was gone. And that just shows you that this is a Senate family. That's a big deal. I'll never forget it. So from me to you and from our committee, thank you for your service. Thank you for your expertise. Our committee was better, this body is better, and our state is better for the time that you've spent in this Maryland Senate. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you for that reflection. Chair recognizes the Minority Whip.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's very hard for me to put into words what the senator from District 4 means, because he and I have become very close friends over the last really almost 16 years. We both served as staff. Our time was a little bit concurrent, but not 100% overlap, and then we came into the House together and have served in the Senate together. we sat for 4 years together in the House of Delegates. It was sort of not supposed to happen that way. It's a long story, but I ended up sitting next to him instead of actually with the Carroll County delegation. And we had already been friends, but became very close friends. And you all know here what it's like when you have somebody who is sort of in the same place in your life, young family, trying to do our best to serve our community and stand up for what we believe. And the thing I can say about Senator, if I may use his name,
Senator, may proceed.
Senator Huff, is a person of, and I can say this about the other person we're honoring today, I know, is a person of great integrity. His word is his bond, and one of the things that, probably to the chagrin of a lot of you sitting here, is whenever we're thinking about, do we want to fight this or not, he was always the one to say, yes, we need to fight it, and here's how we can do it. And he's always been great at finding the one, and you've seen it on the floor, finding the issue that really stands out as the biggest problem and really pointing that out effectively. And we're going to miss that here. Great deal. I'm going to miss having a friend here that's become a very close friend to me. But I also know, I believe Senator Huff's on to we won't say bigger because we're the Senate of Maryland, but maybe better things. And this is a real changing of the guard, though, I think. And one of the things I think is really important for us as members, those of us that may be coming back, if the voters are kind enough to send us back, is we have to continue to fight from the places that we come from and for the places we come from, but also find a way to bridge that gap, to really make progress on key issues. And criminal justice reform is absolutely one of those places where there's a really interesting mix of sort of right, left, and everything in between to really get to a place where we have improved our state dramatically. And I will always be appreciative that Senator Huff worked with me on a very important legislative initiative that was very complex that we were able to get through a couple years ago, dealing with violence against women. So it's really something that we're going to miss. Senator Huff, going to miss you here, but we know you're going to do well in the next, whatever you're doing in the future. And we just want to thank you for your service. Thank you for service also in our Republican caucus.
Thank you, Senator. Well said. Chair recognizes the senator from Frederick City.
Thank you, Mr. President. I felt I should say something in that we're the two senators from Frederick County. We have very different constituencies, and we have very different philosophies. And actually, we've worked well together, particularly on local issues and on some others. And I think we've become friends. And I take a lot of flack for that back home, and I'm sure he does from the other direction. But it shows that despite those differences, you can become friends and work together, and it can be very amicable. And I've enjoyed working with Mike, and wish him well in the future.
Excellent. Thank you, Senator. Thank you. Chair recognizes the senator from the 44th.
Thank you very much, and I promise not to cry today. But what I will say, though, is serving on the committee has been a pleasure working with him. There's some people that sometimes when they talk, you tune them out. On the committee, that was not him. I would listen because you knew that he was digging into the issues that we were dealing with of the day. And if I may share, the other day when I was telling him, there was another bill that came up, and last year he made a really good argument dealing with PBJs and ignition interlocks, and he changed my vote because of his argument that he made in committee. I got blasted in the paper before, and they said we weren't being thoughtful, but I really was being thoughtful. I was listening, and he made a great argument, and there are times when he's done just that. And just the other day we were talking, and what he shared with me was when he's sitting in the committee, he's looking at our colleague to his right, which is the senator from Baltimore City, to see if he might be able to convince her. Then he's looking to see whether or not I'm looking up at him or looking at my computer. And if I'm not looking at my computer, now he's making an argument to me. Or he may be making an argument to our colleague from Prince George's County. But he kind of picks, he knows the things that matter to each of us, and he tries to make those arguments to win us over. And sometimes he wins, and I'm I'm not certain how our committee is going to look next year, but I really do appreciate having the opportunity to work with you.
Thank you for that reflection, Senator. Thank you. Senator from the 41st.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. I wasn't going to speak, but since so many other people are talking, I didn't want the opportunity to go by without me saying my few words. So we all know that the senator is a great intellect, but for me, what I'm going to miss the most is he is the person here that makes me laugh the most every single day in voting sessions. You make good times better. You make unbearable times more bearable. And so often, when it comes to fundamental issues, when it comes to fundamental rights and constitutional rights, we are more similar than we are different. You have been a real asset to the committee and a real lifeline for me at many times, and so I will miss you deeply. And please send me someone else good.
All right. Thank you, Senator. Thank you. Senator from District 6.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sitting here, being here for 8 years, 7 of those years, I sat next to the senator. And being wet behind the ears as a senator, I can tell you, being in committee, I learned some stuff really well in my 2 committees I've been in. But what I've learned more than anything, sitting here, is the next, if I could say, Mr. President, this senator, Senator Huff. I sit here, and when he gets up, as you know, he's very persistent in when he talks about what he's talking about, but he's very good. And I see how hard he studies. I see how hard when he looks up things in his computer and what he's checking out. And he's very prepared. And you are more than a friend. You are somebody that I look up to. Because I say that not just with my heart, but with my head, because I've learned a lot from you. And we are blessed to have people like you here. And I hope we can continue to be blessed by more people like you to come here. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you for that reflection. Final word from the minority leader here.
Yeah, if I could use the senator's name.
Senator may proceed.
Yeah, I appreciate Senator Huff. He's a good man. When he gets up on the floor, he's very articulate and he's prepared, and I love that about him. We're really going to miss you on that. But he's a real good family man, too. Most of you don't, we're all on the floor all the time. He loves his family. I got to go to the White House with his family, had a great time down there. But the other thing I really appreciate, he's a deal maker. We had a little celebration for our members retiring, and he got the Deal Maker Award. And it's because he looks at it and he tries to bring balance, and he'll say, I got this, I got this. And we get on the floor, do you got it? He says, I got it. And you'd come out here and you'd see it. Now, his deal-making skills weren't quite as good with the House. I was hoping he'd come back one more term to work on that, but we'll deal with that. One of the funny things that happened last year, he was the minority whip, did a great job. And, we get beat up sometimes down here. I don't know if you noticed that. And it can get pretty discouraging. And he leaned over to me and says, you know what? As bad as it is now, 10 years from now, they're going to look back at these and say, these were the good old days. And to the senator from the 41st district, we are going to be working to get a really good replacement for him, just to let you know.
Fair enough. Well said, Senator. Thank you. Well, we certainly appreciate your service. I do have to end on kind of a note. One of the best messages I got during the interim was just a random afternoon when the senator sent me a text message with a picture of a framed article on the wall. And back in 2020 or 2019, we had the opportunity to spend an afternoon in Brunswick to look at the infrastructure and all of the opportunities for economic development. And the Frederick News Post actually came out to take a look at and we had a really excellent conversation and had lunch at this diner. Well, that picture and that article that was in the Frederick News Post, the restaurant owner had taken it, framed it, and put it up in the restaurant. And so I guess the senator had gone for lunch one day, and there he was standing, with the two of us on the wall. And it just was a sign of what we are able to do together and the common interests that we all have. So we're gonna miss him and appreciate the incredible work that you've done. So thank you, Senator, so much. Thank you. All right, we are going to do just a couple more things. We were able to get a couple more pieces of work in, so we're going to just take maybe 10 more minutes, and we'll clear these out. We have a report from Judicial proceedings. This is report number 50. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 73, Delegate Lewis, Baltimore City, Complete Streets and Safe Routes to School Programs Funding, favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 44th District as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill expressly authorizes Baltimore City to use any fines collected by Baltimore City as a result of violations from specified automated traffic enforcement systems to be used to administer the systems, and any remaining funds must be used for 1, infrastructure and non-infrastructure activities eligible for funding under the State Highway Administration Safe Routes to School program, and 2, public safety and transportation infrastructure improvements consistent with the purpose and goals of the state and complete street programs in the city's complete streets transportation system. There are no committee amendments. I move this, the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections to the report? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 73 is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 176, Delegate Cardin, Court Service of Process Fees collected by Sheriff, favorable.
All right, Chair recognizes the senator from the 42nd as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill increases from $40 to $60 the fees that a sheriff must generally collect for service of a paper not including an execution or attachment, and for service of process of papers arising out of administrative agency proceedings where the party requesting the service is a non-governmental entity. Also, the bill specifies that a sheriff must collect $40 for service of a paper for breach of lease, a tenant holdover, a warrant of restitution, a wrongful entry and detainer, or an order of levy in distress. There are no committee amendments. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 176 is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 559, Delegate Fisher, Prohibition before Judgment, Probation Agreements, Probation Not Deportation, favorable with one amendment.
Chair recognizes the senator from Montgomery County as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. As amended, this bill is identical to SB 265. The bill authorizes a court, with the consent of the state's attorney, to place a defendant on probation before judgment if the court finds facts justifying a finding of guilt. There is one committee amendment. Amendment number 1 requires the consent of the state's attorneys. Move favorable the committee report with the amendment.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the one committee amendment is adopted. Question now is on the favorable report as amended. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 559 is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 1448, Delegate Clippinger, District Court, Concurrent Civil Jurisdiction, Violation of Ordinances, favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 44th District as the floor leader.
Thank you very much. This bill establishes that a county or Baltimore City has concurrent civil jurisdiction with the district court to adjudicate violations of specified local ordinances. The governing body of a county or the mayor and city council of Baltimore may delegate the authority to adjudicate violations to a board, commission, agency, or an officer under its jurisdiction and control. The bill takes effect June 1, 2022. There are no committee amendments. I move the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1448 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. All right, we are going to do a concurrence calendar and then we'll break after that. So this is a concurrence calendar out of JPR. This is number 37, Senate bills amended in the House. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 371, Carroll County Senators, Carroll County, prospective employees and volunteers, criminal history records check, JPR.
Chair recognizes the chair of the Committee on the House Amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. As amended by the House, the bill authorizes the Department of Human Resources of Carroll County to request a criminal history records check for prospective county employees or volunteers. The amendment limits this to persons assigned to certain positions or in a position that involves care of a minor. The committee moves to concur.
All right,
Move
the
concurrence.
chair moves that we concur with the House amendments. Any discussion? Any objections with the House amendments? Without objection, the House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 371 is now again before the Senate on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 371 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 432, Senator Klossmeyer, Baltimore County, Orphans, Court Judges, and Surviving Spouses, Pensions, JPR.
Chair recognizes the Chair of the Committee on the House Amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. The amendments adopted by the House place the Senate bill in the same posture as the House bill, as passed by the Senate unanimously. I'd move to concur.
The chairman moves that we concur with the House amendments. Any discussion? Any objections on the House amendments? Without objection, the House amendments are adopted. Oh, do we have a? Without objection, the House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 432 is again on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 432 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 465, Senator Carter, Vehicle Laws, Licenses and Permits, Prohibited Acts, JPR.
Chair recognizes the chair on the House amendments.
Okay, thanks. As passed by the Senate, the bill repeals a catch-all provision which prohibits any person from doing any act forbidden by or failing to do any act by Title 16 of the Transportation Article. JPR voted unanimously to concur.
All right, the chair moves that we concur with House amendments. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 465 is now again before the Senate on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 465, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 563, Senator Hedelman, Real Property Actions to Repossess, Judgment for Tenants, and Proof of Rental Licensure, JPR.
Chair recognizes the Chair of the Committee on the House Amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. The House amendments were technical in nature. It strikes the word review and replaces it with renew. The committee voted unanimously to concur. Move the concurrence.
Chair moves to concur with House amendments. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 563 is again before the Senate on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 563, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 586, Senator McCray, Criminal Procedure and Public Safety, Courts and Criminal Justice in Baltimore City, JPR.
Chair recognizes the Chair of the Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee voted unanimously to concur. Just briefly, the bill requires the Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services to notify the Baltimore Police Department if the defendant is released before trial. As specified, it requires BPD to submit an annual report regarding firearms to the governor and the General Assembly. And 3, it establishes the Job Courts pilot program in the District Court of Baltimore City. Move to concur.
All right, the Chair moves that we concur with the House amendments. Any discussion? Any objection to the House amendments? Without objection, the House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 586 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 586, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 642, Senator Casserly, Harford County Vehicle Height Monitoring Systems, JPR.
Senate Bill 642 is on third reader. Oh, excuse me. It is not on third reader yet. Chair recognizes the Chair on the House amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. The House amendments just made this an emergency bill. The committee voted unanimously to concur. Move the concurrence.
Chair moves the House amendments. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 642 is now on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 642, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 731, Senator Watson, Vehicle Towing or Removal, Secured Parties, Electronic Notification, JPR.
Chair recognizes the Chair of the Committee on the House Amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. These were technical amendments amended by the House. The Senate has already passed the cross-file HB 870 unanimously and moved adoption. I'd move the concurrence.
Chair moves that we concur with the House amendments. Any discussion? Any objection to the House amendments? Without objection, the House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 731 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 731, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right, we're going to call it there. We're going to call it there. We're going to break. We are going to probably come back around 3:30 today. So 3:30 will be our aspirational start time. So as chairs, as you're thinking, while chairs are sort of thinking about time to pull committee together, I do want to recognize three special guests that I have here today, two of whom are on spring break. The third is the spring break overseer. I have my son, Caleb Ferguson, daughter, CJ Ferguson, and my dad, the other Bill Ferguson. So we give them a welcome. So. You can wait. You're allowed to wave. So they get a little bit less time with Dad these times. As the senator from District 4 had mentioned, these are a tough time for families. So we'll try to get a little bit of a moment for them to see us in action. All right, let's do Chair of Finance.
Finance has to hold a hearing on one bill, and we've got to do a little voting. Let's try 205.
205?
Yeah.
205 for Finance. All right. Chair of Education, Health, Environmental Affairs.
Mr. President, Education, Health, and Environmental Affairs will meet at 2:50. Give us about 40 minutes to vote and do concurrences. 2:50.
250. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chair of Budget and Tax.
Thank you, Mr. President. We will meet immediately in the red room after this.
Yes. All right. Immediately in the red room. Forgot about that need. Yes. Chair of Judicial Proceedings.
Thank you, Mr. President. JPR will meet for a voting session at 2:50 in the committee room. Please be on time. 2:50. 250.
250. All right. Any other standing committees? Yes, Chair recognizes the Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just want to recognize the doctor of the day. Accompanying us today is Dr. Alan Gonzalez-Cota. He's an anesthesiologist and pain management physician arising out of District 18 and the managing partner at Legacy Spine and Pain Management. Please welcome the doctor of the day.
Welcome. Thanks for being here today. Thanks for joining us. Ready? Okay. If there are no further announcements for meetings, Chair recognizes the senator from District 1. Has an important, actually, Senator, before we do that, if we could do Baltimore County delegation.
Baltimore County delegation, we will meet here 5 minutes before session begins, and I'm asking Jim, the photographer, if he can take a picture of all of us. Is that okay?
We'll make sure. Yes.
Oh, darn. No, but 5 minutes before, everybody, so we have a picture for memories.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes Senator from Baltimore City, Chair of Baltimore City delegation.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. Following Baltimore County's lead, we're going to take our picture immediately after this session. They're waiting for us right at the steps.
Okay, at the steps. All right. Any other announcements for the good of the order? If not, let's go to the senator from District 1.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, it's that day.
Yes.
You know, when I was in the House, I had a lot of people come up to me and ask me how much snow we got in Garrett County, individually. And how can I take care of this in one swoop? So I came up with this magnificent idea of having a snow report on the last day of the session. For two reasons. I only had to do it one time, but also to show that there is some diversity in the state in a lot of things, one including the weather. And Delegate Conway got up on the floor one day, and I forget the issue, but he said, I just want you all to know that the sun touches the eastern shore of the state of Maryland. I said, oh, okay. So I got up and said, I just want you to know that the sun touches the mountains of Maryland last during the day. So I would invite all of you up to watch the sun touch Maryland last in the part of the mountains when you get time to. The record snowfall was in 2010. We had 264 inches of snow. This year, mainly because the last 4 weekends I've been home, we've had snow. We've had the ground covered the last 4 weekends. We have had a total at this point, but there'll probably be some more, We've had 36 storms, however they calculate those. And we've had 113 inches of snow. This is the last report. I'm signing off from Kaiser's Ridge, the official state calculator of snow in the state of Maryland. Thank you very much.
One of the best parts of the year, every year. Love it. All right, let's do a quorum call before we adjourn.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. With 47 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland remains in session. Chair recognizes the majority leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. The chambers will be secured correctly?
Yes, we will secure the chambers.
Okay. I move the Senate of Maryland stand adjourned until 3:30 p.m. promptly.
3:30 p.m. without objection, so ordered. Stay safe.